I'll do the introductions. My name's Elizabeth Taylor. For those of you that haven't met me before, I'm the Chief Executive of Ursa. I'm really pleased that we're holding this session this afternoon. We've had a lot of interest in it. I can see that we've got 186 people already in the meeting. I know we've had over 300 register. What that often means is people listen later. They get interrupted. They can't actually join us on the day, but I think that, oh, we're up to 188. That is fantastic numbers. We are going to reconvene again in a few weeks because we know that this is such a big topic, and we're just beginning the process of sharing information and sort of building a community of good practice around this area of work. So Ursa, when Beam reached out to us and suggested that we did this webinar together. Of course, we had to delay it when we were in the period of mourning, so it's good that the interest remains. I think we're just about to get to 200 people, and we will reconvene, and we know that there are other organisations working in this space. In fact, we had a presentation at Employment Support Greater Manchester this morning about some of the work that's going on there. But with we've only got our hour, so Seb Barker from Beam, I would like to hand over to you. You're going to chair. I'm going to go off screen and be very quiet, although I will attempt to manage the Q&A later in the meeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Liz, and a huge thank you to everyone who is attending the session today. I am really honoured to share the virtual stage with so many interesting and inspiring people, all of whom we have the joy of working with at Beam in slightly different capacities. So if you haven't heard of Beam before, we are a social enterprise that works with government to support refugees into jobs and homes. And it's really shocking to realise just how much unemployment and homelessness disproportionately affects the refugee community. So only 28% of refugees start a job in the UK, despite many of them having really successful careers in their home countries before they move over. And really scarily, an estimated 50,000 Ukrainian refugees are currently at risk of homelessness as the Home for the Ukraine scheme begins to wind down. So really what we've started to hear a lot from the council partners that we work with is it feels like there's a bit of an absence of a long-term strategy for dealing with the refugee crisis. There's already hundreds of people in emergency accommodation. More people are coming through every month presenting as homelessness. So what can be done to try and help people in this situation and really lift them out of homelessness for the long term? And that really provides the kind of segue into, I think, what we want to talk about over the next hour. And I think it's really just the time to try and interrogate the answer to this question, which is how can we support refugees not to just subsist and survive in the UK, but to really thrive in the new communities they end up living in. So at Beam, we've been running some rapid response initiatives with some different government partners, and we're just going to very briefly kick off by talking through what some of those are. So it's almost impossible to imagine how hard it would be to pack your entire life up in a few days and relocate halfway around the world to a new country to try and start a new life. But that is exactly what happened to people and families in Afghanistan last year. So we've been working with the City of London and the Home Office to deliver some workshops and education sessions in the bridging hotels in the City of London. And really the goal of these sessions is to provide people with the foundations that they need to have a really good quality of life in the UK. So we'll explain how the benefit system works, what the different housing options are. We work with the Home Office to help move people on into longer term accommodation. But as part of that, we'll also do a real deep dive into the community integration that people need to try and feel happy and relaxed about their housing option. So, for example, where's the nearest mosque in relation to the new home, or where's the nearest halal butcher? And this really makes a big difference to kind of building people's confidence around resettling somewhere totally new. And of course, translators are an important part of that. You can see some in the picture there. We've also created some handouts and workbooks that people can use as part of that. And so we've been running this scheme now for a few months, and that totals 130 individual sessions that we've done with households in the bridging hotels, and also 9 workshops alongside that as well. And how we've evaluated this is we've spoken to the people who we've delivered the sessions to and asked them how engaging in the sessions, but also how practically useful is it in helping you move on from that hotel. We've had some really positive feedback so far. So we're at 4.4 out of 5 as the average rating there. And we've now extended the scheme into March next year, and we're also beginning to roll it out in some new areas in London as well. We also offer an enhanced offer of support around jobs and housing, and that breaks down into a few different areas. So the first is targeted caseworker support. So everyone using Beam will get a caseworker, and we really focus on strengths-based support that looks at the long term. So where do you want to get to a year from today, and how can we work backwards from that to really help you get there? We work with a network of different landlords and housing providers to also support families into tenancies and homes that they can stay in for the long term. We're going to be hearing a bit more from Anca at Islington Council later in the session around their experience resettling refugees in the borough of Islington. And of course, targeted job support as well. So Beam works with a network of different employer partners that will prioritise people using the service for interviews and jobs. And after they've started that job, we'll stay in touch for at least 3 months with the employer to help them sustain it. We also have some really good talks coming up from Nina at the Pret Foundation, also from the Department for Work and Pensions, sharing their learnings and reflections on how we can help more refugees start jobs. But the other stakeholder that we really try and draw on the support of at Beam that's quite unusual is the community. And that's really what we're doing with web pages that we create for people, like this really inspiring woman called Kateryna. So she had to leave Ukraine when the war broke out there. She resettled in London, and she was referred to Beam by her London-based council, so Haringey. And as part of the service that we offer, we will create a public page on the Beam website, exactly like the one you're looking at here. So you can see we've got her photo and her first name. We don't include any traceable information on that page at all, so we wouldn't have surnames or addresses or anything like that. And if someone can't have information online because it's not safe for some reason, we'll just anonymize it completely. So we'll have an avatar and a pseudonym there instead. And what we're looking to do with this page is remove all financial obstacles that the person currently faces to their goal. So for Kateryna, that's a level 7 diploma that she needs to do the job she wants, travel, workloads, but it can be whatever that individual needs. So for a lot of people we support, it's childcare. For others, it's a rental deposit or furniture for their new home. It's really a personal budget that starts with a goal and then works backwards. And you might be sitting there wondering, well, how on earth can someone like Kateryna, who's just arrived in the UK, hope to try and fundraise over £1,500? And the answer to that is that we do the fundraising for people, and we do it through a large group of monthly donors who split their donations equally between everyone who's using Beam. So that means that over 90% of the donations that come into Beam are shared between everyone. So we know everyone's going to reach their fundraising target, and they're all going to hit it at roughly the same rate. There's also a really strong and significant emotional component to this experience as well. So during the fundraising and also afterwards as well, people that have supported that person can leave messages that get sent through directly to them. So you can see some that have been left on Kateryna's page there. Hi, Kateryna, this is amazing news. I hope you're enjoying your new role and all the best for the future. And we find for people who often feel very alienated or perhaps a bit marginalised in the new areas they're moving into, the sense that there are hundreds of people out there that are backing you, that believe in you, that are sending you these messages on a regular basis, really gives you the kind of self-confidence and self-belief that you need to go through an otherwise really, really difficult transition in your life. And I am delighted to say that we have Kateryna and her Beam caseworker, Davide, with us on the call today. They're going to be talking a little bit about Kateryna's journey to the UK, but also the support that she received from Beam as well. So over to you guys.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful intro, Seb. And it's a pleasure to be joined by so many people passionate about supporting refugees. As Seb mentioned, I'm Kateryna's caseworker here at Beam with the jobs team. And I've been working with Kateryna since early June this year when she was referred to Beam's Housing and Employment Service by, in fact, Enfield Council. But yeah, I'm going to pass over to Kateryna to introduce herself now.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you. I'm Kateryna. I came to UK this April. I'm originally from Ukraine, from the eastern part of it, from Donbas region, which was unfortunately occupied by Russia in 2014. So this is my second time when I had to leave my native land. But still, I'm coping with all the situation and very happy to see you, everyone, and to share my experience with Beam.
And I'm sure the audience would love to hear a bit more about what your life was like in Ukraine before you had to leave.
So before I had to leave, I was working as an English teacher back in Ukraine. I was doing the repair of my apartment. I had a really happy life. I have a 7-year-old child, and we were having a very good time in Ukraine together. We always cheered up each other, and it was really sad for me to leave my country because of that situation.
Yeah, and I remember those first few months must have been really hard, not knowing what was going to happen. And you arrived to the UK. How was settling into the UK initially?
So about settling in the UK, I can underline that I was like a bit shocked, but still my host family was really kind to me. I was really happy and impressed how they helped me with all the documentation, especially with sharing their house with us.
You've gone on to mute, Kateryna, I think.
You hear us now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, and I was impressed with Britain very much. And here, first I came to Poland, then I came to Germany. And when I came to Britain, I became more calm and felt more safety here.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me straight away with Kateryna when we first met was just the depth and quality of your past professional experience. You worked in a series of quite senior roles, including as assistant manager at a top governmental organisation. With all this in mind, what were some of the challenges you faced looking for work in the UK before you found out about Beam?
So I didn't know what was the difficulties, because I was confident about my skills, about my English knowledges. But when I sent my CV or applied for any roles, I didn't have any response. And I feel really frustrated, really disappointed. But when we met with Davide, we worked on my CV, on my cover letter. I found out for myself what his cover letter is exactly, because I didn't know what is it. And we cut my CV. It was big. It was very long. It had included 2 pages and was like not very convenient for reading. And we made a very good CV. I had a compliment that I have a smart CV then. So it was.
Yeah, and I remember you mentioning how in Ukraine you hadn't yet gone more than 2 months without finding a job. If you wanted a job, the jobs were there. And suddenly in the UK, you're applying 50, 60 applications for these open positions, which you're never hearing back.
Yeah, it was really surprising for me and disappointing.
What we did, we sat down, working with CV, as you said, reducing it a bit in size to make sure that all your amazing experiences are really evident to someone reading it. We also did some interview sessions, working with interview skills and writing that cover letter, speaking about everything we've been through the last 12 months. Of all the different job hunting kind of skills that we worked on, what did you find most useful?
So I can say that everything was really useful. It was like, like the links in one chain, and everything was really fruitful for me because like I had a very good experience. Okay. I don't know why I've gone from the
Yeah, we just lost Kateryna's video. Give me 1 second. Try press again.
Okay, hello. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so, and I was really impressed with the experience I've got from it. It was really all the notes were really reasonable, and I like this experience very much because I like to learn something new, to find out, to get some experience, to grow in each sphere of my life. So I think that everything was really important for me to find out about CV, cover letter, and how to present myself at the interviews and so forth. So
Yeah, I think that's really instantly what you did was share your experiences and really kind of come to us with what should I do to improve, etc. And in terms of, let's try to now share your campaign with everyone. Just gonna get it up on the screen. So Kateryna's campaign is in. You should be able to see it. And as Seb mentioned, one of the really important components of what we do is community support in terms of making sure the members, general public, get in touch with refugees and help them directly overcome the barriers they face in employment. And now we can hear directly from you, Kateryna, in terms of how they feel like receiving support from someone maybe hadn't met before, but was willing to support with both messages and financial support and helping you overcome the barriers.
So about getting such kind of assistance was very, really touching for me. I was really surprised in a positive way. Of course, sometimes I felt a bit uncomfortable because like usually I didn't have such kind of assistance. We don't have such an experience in Ukraine about such foundations, but when you like face such kind of situations, it's reasonable to take it and to be thankful. And I'm really impressed that people in Britain, they wanted to help me so much, and so I can say that I'm definitely thankful for that.
Yeah, just sharing your screen. I realized that potentially for the people, because you're on mute on your side, because we're in the same room actually, you may not be able to see Kateryna. So I'm actually going to get Kateryna to come sit alongside me there so you can see her clearly, because she's on the other side of the room actually. So we'll be trying to work this online world as much as everyone else is. But yeah, here's Kateryna on her side. And so since you started work as an interpreter in August, we moved you to our housing team and you moved into your own accommodation with your 7-year-old son. I'm sure the audience would love to hear how's it been settling in kind of for the first time in 12 months, you have your own space. How's that been?
It was amazing because we usually had our space back in Ukraine. We had a big apartment, so we felt very good in our host family, but still we wanted some place for ourselves. And our flat is good. My son is really happy. Actually, he did very good during all this period. He was coping with all the situation very bravely, but still he was really happy to move in our own apartment, to have some time, to have guests. And so I feel really full.
Yeah, in terms of, we spoke about clearly your plans would be for the world war to end, to be able to return home, but in the short term, whilst the war is still happening, what are your plans for the UK, for your future now?
So I would like to move on with the interpreting job. I would like to undergo courses to improve my skills, to get some certifications of interpreting. And of course, as you mentioned, I would like to get some positive experience from Britain and to bring it to my country in the future. So this is my purpose.
Yeah, I just loved him. I think we're running out of our segment time, but on behalf of everyone here, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time today to share your experiences after everything you've been through in the last 2 years. To be here in front of us and speak about it, I think is very brave. And on behalf of everyone as well, we wish you all the best in the next few months and wherever your plans take you. And yeah, we're cheering you on.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Amazing. I think we're passing over to Nina from the Pret Foundation. But yeah, thank you very much for having us. Bye, guys.
Hi, everyone. Thanks both. Thank you to Kateryna for sharing her story. So I've been asked to just talk a little bit more about the programme that we've been running here at Pret. So let me just bring up my slides for you. Hopefully you can all see that. So yeah, so just here to say a little bit more about the work that we've been doing at the Pret Foundation with Pret. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Rising Star programming specifically and how we help people experiencing homelessness or those at risk into employment, but more of a focus on our Ukrainian employment program, which we established earlier this year. I'm going to talk a little bit.
We can't see the screen. There's nothing on your screen.
I'm sharing my slide, so you might want to do it on my behalf then, Jenna, so I'm not too sure what the, can you not see anything?
No, nothing.
Yeah, it's saying I'm sharing, so
Nina, do you want to stop sharing and I'll try and share mine?
Yeah, I've stopped sharing. Do you want to try? We've tested this before. The joys of technology, everyone, 2.5 years in.
I'm just wondering, Jenna, if it's going to take a little while, should we could maybe switch, Nina, if you want to go after DWP, and maybe DWP if you want to go in now, and then we could just switch around the running order and resolve the issue. Does that work for you, Nina?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to switch. I don't know if DWP have got slides as well.
No, thank God. No.
Yeah, that's fine then. You go. Thank you.
I'm so glad I haven't got slides. Sorry about your problems, Nina. And it's quite difficult actually to follow Kateryna because that was such a moving story, and it's such a happy story now that you're doing so well. But I digress. Let me introduce myself. My name is Celia Pappas, and I work for the National Employer and Partnership Team, which is part of DWP. So we're a virtual team, and we deal with, as the name suggests, national employers and national partners. And it's a lot of it is a kind of coordination role. But at the moment, I work in a team called the Resettlement Team, and it was set up last year as a result of the actions in Afghanistan, what was going on in Afghanistan, and that's where the name came from, because people coming from Afghanistan were not referred to as refugees or evacuees, they were referred to as resettlers. And we were trying to coordinate offers of support from employers, from partners, from training organisations to try and help people integrate into the UK and to get them a job. Our role essentially is to get people into work, and hopefully with work comes integration, comes the better understanding of the culture, and it improves languages, etc. So how the process works at the moment, I'll pin some things onto the chat, some links for the gov.uk website, because employers who want to offer their support go through a Home Office link, which is offer work at homeoffice.gov.uk, and then it comes into our inbox, which is employer.advice@dwp.gov.uk. Don't try and learn or remember this, I will pop them in. And they tell us what's on offer, how many jobs, where the jobs are, and we cascade the information to our well, somewhat 700 job centres throughout Britain. So depending on where the jobs are. Now, we get offers of help or support from national employers, but we also get offers of employment from local employers, small employers with just potentially 1 or 2 jobs, and we deal with all of these. Now, unfortunately, I can't give you any numbers because the numbers aren't in the public domain, so it's like a big secret, but we have had a lot of support from employers, and there's a lot of vacancies out there. But I think it was what Kateryna mentioned was really, it hit a nerve with me about she didn't know how to do a CV for the UK job market. She didn't know about the cover letter. She didn't know about the interview skills. So all these kind of things and the training that's an offer for these skills is really essential, really, really essential. But I think the other thing that we try to do in our team is to try and educate employers, because these people coming from Ukraine, Afghanistan, they come from terrible things in their own country. But there is a willingness to get to work and to integrate and everything else. But the employer has to understand that things that work in the UK don't work in the Ukraine and don't work in the Afghanistan. So it's about kind of modifying their recruitment processes. And if they normally, for example, have online applications only, in places like Afghanistan, in some areas in Afghanistan, totally unheard of, you know, and even in places in Europe. Because in a previous life, I worked for the European Employment Service and used to tour Europe talking about how to apply for jobs in the UK. And there's differences between France and Germany and Spain in the UK. So this is not just something that happens with refugees or evacuees or whatever terminology we want to give them. So we need to do our best to help employers fill their jobs, but also to help employers understand the difficulties that people coming from another background have in applying for the jobs. Like Kateryna said, she was disappointed because she'd applied for so many jobs and there was no reaction. So there's a bit of work that's necessary on all sides. We work with different partners. We work with other government agencies, and it's to try and ensure this wraparound support. So for, if I can speak for the Afghan citizens and the Ukrainian citizens, when they came here, the first thing that we had to think about, this is not DWP, I'm using the royal we as in UK citizens, was to keep them safe, so have them somewhere to live, and to get them access to benefits, which both representatives had. So Ukrainians and Afghanistans had immediate access to benefits. That was the first thing. And then the other offers of support that was there from other organisations, not all from DWP. We can't be all things to all men. And then we look at the employability. So we, as I say, we coordinate the offers of support, we cascade them to our job centres, and we have single points of contact. We have refugee single point of contacts, and we have single points of contact specifically for Afghan citizens and for Ukrainians. So at the moment, we are, we're continuing, we're still getting a lot of support, a lot of interest from employers. So we intend to carry on with the work that we're doing. We're not, we're trying to learn as well and look at the different problems that people are having and how do we overcome some of the barriers. One of the barriers that we're finding is the lack of ESOL, English lessons for non-English speakers. And we're trying to work with the Department for Education to try and encourage them to make more kind of classes available in all areas. To contact us, I will put the email address. We have a team. If anyone has any questions or if you know any employers who would be interested in working with us, then they can get in touch with us through this email address. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I put it on the chat, please.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do
very
the
long
chat.
question for everybody.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, you've put it on the chat. That's fantastic. I'm going to attach the links for the questionnaire that we send out. That is to be filled in by employers who want to advertise their vacancies with us, and also our email address. I'll just type this in just now.
Thank you so much, Celia, and thank you everyone for your questions. We're going to just do, if it's okay, to hold on for 10, 15 more minutes. We're going to do questions together at the end, just so we make sure that the other speakers have a chance to go. So keep them coming in the chat. A huge thank you, Celia. I think we're now resolved the issues with the slides, so we're going to go back to Nina. There we go. Perfect. Back on the road.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you to everyone so far that's spoken. So back to me. Yes, so my name's Nina Allard. I'm Global Head of the Pret Foundation. I'm just going to speak to you a little bit more about the specific programme that we put in place to support Ukrainian refugees earlier in the year, and just the benefits and challenges that we've experienced as a company. So yeah, actually probably works a little bit more kind of seamlessly going after DWP. So if we move ahead, I'll just introduce you a little bit more to the Pret Foundation. So we were, if you just move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. We were established nearly 30 years ago, just in response to tackling food waste. So we exist to alleviate poverty, in particular hunger and homelessness in the UK, and we do that through 3 key activities. So each day we work to reduce food waste and donate as much food surplus as possible from the shops across the country. We also offer financial support to grassroots organisations working with people in the community, and we also run the Rising Star Employment Programme, which I'm going to go into a little bit more detail now. So if we move on, our Rising Star Programme, it was established back in 2008, and we've recruited over 600 people to date through that programme. And we primarily work with people experiencing homelessness or those at risk, and which includes refugees, and we work to get them into employment. That the model is very simple but very effective. We work with charity partners like Beam, who refer clients onto us, and we are really passionate about breaking down the barriers for these people to access employment. So we don't have any formal application process, and we have dedicated employment managers in place that really understand what the working environment is like at Pret, and are best placed to work with clients and match them up with shops. Really importantly, we offer a paid training programme, so we cover wages during the period of 12 weeks training, and on the completion of that training we offer a permanent or job, full-time, temporary, part-time, whatever the individual needs and what suits them. We offer that on completion of the programme. On top of this, we add an additional layer of support. So we cover travel costs, we provide vouchers for clothes to make sure people have what they need when they have their first day at work. Individuals have access to weekly counselling groups with their peers, and they can also access additional one-to-one counselling support if required. And I think it's really important to say here that we're the experts when it comes to working at Pret. We expect all of our charity partners to have an experience day in a shop, so they understand what it's like to work in a Pret shop, and the expectations are set at the right level. But we're absolutely not the experts when it comes to providing the additional support. So we rely on the referral charity to provide that holistic wraparound support when it comes to things like accessing shelter, dealing with addictions, financial support. And it's a very good relationship that we have with the charity partner. If we feel they're not ready to come on board, we might refer them back to the charity and ask them to continue working with an individual, with the client, until they're ready, and come back in a few months' time. And this year for this programme, we aim to recruit 75 people into Pret, and we aim for those 80% of those individuals to graduate the 12-week programme, and we also aim for 60% of them to stay with Pret for 6 months or more. And we are absolutely on track to do that for 2022. If we move on to more specifically what we're here to talk about today, the Ukrainian employment programme. So earlier in the year, when the war broke out in Ukraine, we wanted to do something more specific. And as I mentioned, through our Rising Star programme, we have supported refugees from Syria, from Iran, from Yemen, since 2008. So that this isn't necessarily anything new for us, but we wanted to do something specifically to help those coming from Ukraine. So we developed a programme that mirrored that of the Rising Star programme, and Pret owners committed to funding that programme, 50% of that programme. And we opened up a specific recruitment pool for Ukrainians entering the UK. We translated a simplified application form, and we seconded a Ukrainian-speaking shop manager into the team to manage the programme, as they are best placed to understand individual needs and what, they've got family in Ukraine, they understand the situation, but equally what is required from working at Pret. And similarly to the Rising Star programme, we offer paid employment, support with travel costs, counselling, and probably the most popular and important thing that we have offered is English tuition. Demand for this programme was completely, as I'm sure won't surprise you, that the demand was completely unprecedented. In the first 6 weeks that we opened the programme, we received over 600 applications. We originally intended to support 50 people into employment and have so far recruited over 150 people into Pret, and we actually have a renewed commitment now to support at least 250 people. You'll see the pictures on the right here. This is one of the English tuition groups. We've had a first group of 25 people complete the programme with the Ukrainian institutes, and we've just started another cohort with 4 groups, which will run until Christmas. We facilitated, I think what's been so wonderful about this programme actually is we facilitated the creation of a huge network, and these people are now meeting on weekends for picnics and other social events, so it's lovely. And you'll see on the bottom right here is Dennis. He came to London with a very small amount of money in his pocket. He was referred through us through Crisis. He was sleeping rough and heard about the programme. And for Dennis, he was particularly worried about meeting new people, but has said that as soon as he met the team in the shop, he knew it was going to be all right and would really miss the people that he worked with now if he left. So he really feels part of the community, and everyone was really committed to helping him grow. And the lovely thing is he's keen to stay in the UK, build a life for himself. He absolutely loves coffee and would love to become a barista. And we've just had some wonderful feedback as well about the programme, as you can see on the next slide, from Elena in Leicester. So dear Victoria, the lady in the team that manages the programme, today was my first day in Pret. From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to say thank you for your kindness, understanding, honesty, help and support. It's good to know that people like you are around in the world. I wish you prosperity, harmony and happiness. Sincerely, thank you for your help. So much needed at this difficult time. And this is the group of people, I think after an English tuition class at the pub. So very much getting in that important social time as well. So if I move on just to what the benefits are of having this programme in place and supporting refugees into employment at Pret, I've touched on so many of them already, and there are a lot. It has certainly addressed skills gaps. Many of these individuals have come to Pret with a highly skilled background, and actually about 40 of the people that applied came over to the UK with a medical background. So we've actually worked with the NHS to place individuals into jobs with the NHS. These individuals have an extremely high work ethic that creates a very strong pipeline of diverse talent for roles at all levels. These individuals are very ambitious. They want to go places, as you've heard from Dennis, and we already have people training to be team leaders and baristas. They're extremely loyal. We estimate 16% turnover during this period, which is lower than many companies in hospitality. And I think that's because many people are looking for stability and want to hold on to an opportunity when they get it. I think improving retention and engagement with our existing staff base at Pret. Many people that I interview, that other people interview, when they interview people that want to work for Pret, they say this is one of the reasons as to why they are attracted to working for Pret. So I really think giving people, for example, the opportunity to mentor these people is a really strong reason that people stay, and it's a great way to engage with other people across the business. And I think it gives the business a purpose. Doing the right thing has always been a key value at Pret. People are at the very heart of the business, but I think for those companies that don't necessarily have this focus as yet, it's important for employees and customers to work with and join a company with purpose. And finally, I think we've brought people together. One of the benefits of the programme has been about bringing this people together, and that was probably an unintended consequence when we established the programme. Many people actually didn't necessarily go through the application process, word of mouth. Someone has joined the programme, they've told their friend about the programme or their sister, and they have then since come on to work for Pret. So we've built up a great community of people that are just supporting each other through this particularly difficult time. And then just onto the challenges. These individuals come, I think the top three sort of can be grouped together. These people come with additional support needs, all of which take time to work through and investment to overcome. So obvious challenges such as the language barrier has definitely been tricky, but additional needs which we hadn't necessarily foreseen, such as childcare or dealing with trauma, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to work with the general managers in shops and offer them training on how to support someone dealing with trauma, or have the flexibility to provide a work pattern that can work around childcare provision. I think that the backlog in right to work checks has been frustrating from our perspective, as we can't help people as quickly as we'd like to. And at the same time, when they've come on board, they're being taxed incorrectly. So we've spent a lot of our time supporting people to sort that out, as obviously every penny matters to these people. I think when it comes to working with larger charities that refer people onto us, we find many of the larger charities have too many touch points. We're only a small team, we have limited resource, so it makes it tricky to manage and get support to people as quickly as we'd like. And I think this is a gradual process. I think I wanted to add it here as a challenge. It's not necessarily something that we've experienced, but I wanted to call it out as a challenge, because you absolutely need buy-in from the top and support and engagement at all levels to make this work. And I could probably appreciate that this wouldn't necessarily be the case in all businesses where you do have that in place. There absolutely isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. So this really does take time. It involves understanding and empathy from all involved, because people need a very personalised, tailored approach and support that works for them. And then finally, just to come on to, what do I think we can do more of? So I've sort of grouped this into 3 key points. So firstly, remove the barriers so that people can access opportunities as soon as possible. So speeding up right to work checks, getting support and investment into addressing the language barrier. As Kateryna actually we spoke about, just understanding our employment practices and the processes that we expect people to go to, a cover letter, a CV, support to be able to do that. As I've already mentioned, get buy-in and invest. If you create the opportunities and help people to fulfill their potential, the benefits, as I've already alluded to, are huge and something to be extremely proud of. And thirdly, partner with organisations that can help you to recruit people into your business, such as Beam and others that are out there. I think there's probably more that third sector organisations and companies and agency departments can do to work together to do this. There's quite a few different networks and partnerships that are in place, and I suspect as an individual coming over here, it's tricky to understand where to start. Where do you start? So I think there's probably more that we can do together to be able to make it a lot easier for individuals to just understand where they need to turn. So thank you for your time, and please do drop any questions into the chats. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina. Meg Lewis has written, the Holy Grail, an employer who combines a warm welcome, on-the-job training, ESOL and employment, Why can't more do that? And I think that expresses a sentiment that we can probably all agree with. We are now about to hand over to Anca, who is the Resettlement Service Lead at Islington Council. Anca, are you on the call with us?
I am, and
Fantastic.
hello all. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm just going to share my presentation with you. So I hope you you can all see it.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I'm the refugee and migrant service lead at Islington Council, and our service works with a large group of people and in different projects. But our approach is fairness, welcome, and sanctuary for all. Islington Refugee and Migrant Service is involved in refugee resettlement, works with migrants with no recourse public funds, coordinates support for people seeking asylum in contingency hotels, and you know, all this with all these client groups, we aim to achieve an equal approach to meeting their needs across different cohorts. Now, a brief overview of our schemes and successes. We support integration of all refugee and migrant groups. So, for example, we have been working with Beam, supporting not only people from Afghanistan or from Ukraine, but supporting no-recourse public funds migrants with the right to work, getting employment, also supporting people, European Economic Area nationals at risk of rough sleeping. We look at providing a bespoke employment support suited to specific needs. For example, people have different skills, talents, abilities, experiences. People have language barriers, caring responsibilities, different ages, gender. So we look at services that fit people's needs. And we are also flexible in our employment approach. We appreciate that it's not really easy to find employment when you leave your country and arrive in the UK after a difficult experience. But some of our clients have managed to find employment within their first year of being in the UK. So I refer to Afghan and Ukrainian refugees, and they are in full-time, part-time employment. They have started or on the way to start apprenticeships and volunteering opportunities. And we appreciate that it's not a one-size-fits-all model, and people have found employment themselves. But for some of our clients, we have been working with the council service, with Beam, with other voluntary and community service partners to help people find employment in hospitality, in retail, in all of the industry listed. And I'd like to share with you some of the solutions that we have identified dealing with some challenges that clients faced, language barriers. People, presenters have mentioned this before. We found that people in with a low education level, but also higher education levels, have language barriers. People from Afghanistan who used to be judges or work in government in Afghanistan have limited English. There is a lack of professional networks and transferable jobs. But we have found solutions to these challenges by providing bespoke services. So we have commissioned, for example, a specific English classes to support women with younger children, for example, who can't find childcare, or have resourced our response, providing an appropriate caseworker to casework ratio. So our caseworkers work with, for example, 15 families, so they have that ability and time to put in the effort to actually support people when they go and look for employment, and then they need an explanation about what is in that contract of employment. What does a zero hours contract, what does that mean? You know, we have an intensive and culturally appropriate support service. Our caseworkers speak Dari, Farsi, Ukrainian, and this helps in supporting people, building that trust with the service. One big challenge is a stark shift in people's lives and their change in status. It's what we do is managing expectations. Really, a lot of our jobs is managing people's expectations, but also working with people, trying to co-design, co-produce, and set goals together with people around what would they like to achieve. They may not be able to achieve straight away, for example, to become a policeman. People in Afghanistan worked for the MOD, they worked for the British intelligence. They may not necessarily be able to get a similar job here, but they may be able to become a policeman, but that takes time. So on the way to become a policeman, perhaps, you know, they can get a job in security. And then we work with role models. Some of our clients have got jobs themselves, so we are, with their consent, we work with, share their experiences. And we challenge stereotypes. For example, some of the women from the Afghan community don't think of going into employment, and some young Afghan women think of being educated, but not necessarily into employment. So we work with Afghan clients who have found jobs to challenge these cultural stereotypes. In the pictures here, you see that some of our employment successes, this is one single mother with no recourse to public funds who has a disability, but she's been supported by Beam to find employment. And this is a success story because the client has managed to access mainstream benefits as well as employment. Your caseworker Davide is here with our employment support worker attending the Ukrainian event and giving employment advice to our Ukrainian clients. And some other successful stories. We have one Afghan client who has managed to secure employment, part-time employment, to suit her circumstances, and she has got part-time employment with a voluntary and community agency that we have commissioned to support the larger Afghan group. And then the last photo is activities during women's group to support people. So basically, this is training organized for women to leading to self-employment and setting up businesses. Now, lastly, some of Islington future initiatives are to continue our partnership work with Beam, with our iWork employment department, with our VCS partners, and to work with London Met evaluating our integration support and employment support. Now we see that it's quite important for us to have a strategic voice since we lead on Afghan resettlement in London. We expect to support about 150 people, so we are joining Central London Refugee Employment Network.
Anca, I'm sorry to very briefly interrupt. I'm just aware we've only got 5 minutes or so left, and there's a few questions that have come through. So if it's okay to quickly wrap up and move to that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's fine. So you'll see a lovely quote about Beam from one of our staff. And if it's for me to say one thing, call for action, our clients are really keen, really motivated to find employment, but it's quite difficult. So some of the suggestions are on the slide. If DWP employers, employment agencies, or professional institutions could, do something about what we've suggested. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anca. We have a few minutes left. Liz, I know that you're going to be moderating a few questions, so maybe I know a lot have come in, so maybe we could just pick a few.
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say is that in that function of the meeting, there's lots of questions that are being posed to other participants. There's some brilliant networking going on. That won't be closed down after the meeting, so you can continue to discuss things with each other. But what I seem to be picking up in my responsibility is the questions that were put in the Q&A. And we've got a few. We may run out of time. We can pick up on these things at the next meeting on the 21st if necessary. So the first question, and I think this was for you, Seb, is there any specific data on English language needs? Even if it's just a percentage, do we know what that need is for people to learn spoken and written English language?
I don't know the data on that off the top of my head. What I can say we do is we have translators where people's English levels are quite low when we first meet them. We can use the fundraising to help people get English tutoring and one-to-one sessions if they need. And of course, ESOL is often available as well. And then as part of coming out of the English courses, we will help someone into a job with a suitable employer. And we work with lots of employers. The Pret Foundation beautifully described their particular scheme earlier that kind of really helps people around specific language needs that they might have. So I'd say those are the different ways we try and pick that up.
Okay, great, thanks, Seb. And another, I think, quite a quick one. Is there support with setting up LinkedIn profiles?
From Beam specifically?
Yeah, I assume it's from you, yeah.
Absolutely. So the caseworker at Beam will stay very engaged in their support all the way up to the point that they start a job. And if part of that is putting together a LinkedIn profile, we can help with that, but of course do CVs and things as well. So we're very focused on not just helping someone find a job, do the interview, start the job, but then staying in touch for at least 3 months afterwards. So the sustainment piece is really important, and having an online presence through LinkedIn is crucial for that nowadays. Okay,
I'm going to take 2 questions that I think anybody could respond to, and then have a specific one for Anca. The first one is, can anybody talk us through the process for DBS checks, particularly for people arriving from the Ukraine? And if we don't have an answer to that, that might be a perfect agenda item for the 21st. Not seeing anybody respond, so we'll make a note of that at Ursa. The next question to everybody is, can someone with no recourse to public funds get employment when they get an NI number so that they can work?
Yes, if they have the right to work in the UK, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello.
Could you repeat your question about DBS checks for Ukrainian guests? Because I done my one before I started working here.
Yes, please. Can you tell us how that worked for you?
So it was so fast and easy, to be honest. I just installed that application To be honest, I don't remember the name. This official application on official site. Include all of my data, include all of place where I'm staying during the last 5 years. And so applied, pay for this, went to the nearest post office, showed them that application which I was received on my mail address, and show my proof of my evidence of my personality, like passport or driving license. So they made the records, and in a couple of days I received my email that my DBS check was passed and I should wait for a paper hard copy, which is arrived in 1 week. So it was normal one, not enhanced. It was basic DBS checks.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in. I think we take one final question today, because we will meet again on the 21st of November. And this was a question for Anca about the services in Islington, and are they open to other refugees such as Eritrean and Somalians?
So unfortunately not, because we use different government funding. So not these services are open for people who are resettled under the specific schemes, but then the English support is available for all.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to hand back to Seb to close in a moment. I'm aware that this has been a big discussion in 1 hour, which is why we're going to meet again. We're going to continue this as a kind of Ursa Forum community of good practice. So we're together again on the 21st of November, 2 o'clock. Please join us. I'd also just like to do a shout out for the Ursa conference, which is on the 30th of November and 1st of December at the Library of Birmingham. And on the 30th, we've got the awards ceremony that night for the Employability Awards. It's a great 2 days. Check the Ursa website. I think one of my colleagues will put it in the chat. But for me, it's thanks to the speakers, thanks to Beam for working with Ursa to put this together, and back over to you, Seb, to close.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and yeah, huge thank you to all of the speakers today. I feel like one of the really clear themes that sort of come through is this idea of collaboration, and actually if we find new and different ways of doing things, we can really change the lives of thousands of people. And it's not just about an outcome or a job start, it really is about bringing hope to people who otherwise might be on the verge of losing it. So thank you so much. Also echo Elizabeth around staying in touch. I've stuck my email in the chat. If anyone wants to talk about Beam or get in touch with any of the speakers today, do drop me an email or feel free to message Elizabeth. And thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the afternoon and evening.
Thank you. Bye now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.